casual, and so just make yourself at home, and yeah, we just want to support them. As well, we at Inspire generally send a collection box around. Any money collected goes straight to Old Soul, just as a thanks for hosting us. So if you would like to, we'd appreciate any contribution for them.
Nothing.
I think that's all the housekeeping issues. Okay, so all right, we'll get started. So my name is Stephanie Moore. I'm part of the Vinspire crew. Dana, Sally, Linda, Dina, the rest of the folks that are here tonight. And we have this wonderful group of men who have agreed to join us. I kind of asked for each of them just to send a little information about themselves, so we have an idea of kind of where they're coming from. And so I'm actually just decided to go ahead and I kind of put together some of the stuff that they wrote, and I was just going to read a little bit of what they said about themselves, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. So,
Wait, that's
so this is.
I did run it through AI.
Yes. So, but I think it was really helpful to me because I got to learn about you guys, and then we can, kind of go from there with questions. But we have Glenn, Ian, Max, and John. So on the end, Glenn Stewart, he is our panel member representing the single men out there. He grew up in Peru and has lived his whole life in the area. He's now age 40. Grew up in a family of 4 with his mother, father, and sister. Loves the outdoors, hiking, riding his bike when able, camping. Also really enjoys live music and travel. He's no pets, no children. Like I said, he's single. He's bartended and worked in restaurants his whole life. And then interestingly, he said he gave up alcohol about 4 years ago. So we'll dive into that a little bit. And then about 2.5 years ago, he became a realtor. So Allie Webanero, who's a Vinspire member but unable to be here tonight, she got him to agree.
Yeah, I've been friends with Allie since we were like in 7th grade, so
Yeah.
I've known her. She's good people, and I've known her a long
She
time.
can be
So
influential.
Yeah. John.
not many people I'd say yes to right away, and she's usually one of
She
them.
has that way. But she described you as a really awesome human.
So that's good.
She says he's one of those really kind men, really thoughtful, and a good friend, a son, and uncle. And then she also described you as super funny with a fantastic sense of humor. So. And then next we have Ian Anderson. He first moved to Plattsburgh when he was just a few months old, when his parents moved here from Philadelphia. Grew up in the North Country, except for a little stint when you were in New Zealand in about 8th grade,
Briefly.
which I think is fascinating. He's the oldest of 4 siblings with 2 sisters and a brother. He went away to college in Boston, studied business primarily, finance and management, and some political science. He and his wife Taylor met in college, been married for over 8 years. They have 2 daughters who will be turning 6 and 4 soon. Ian and Taylor moved their family to the Plattsburgh area about 18 months ago, having spent most of our previous 5 years in Syracuse and then a decade before that in Boston. He was a competitive discus thrower in high school and college, on track and field, and then after that, collegiate club volleyball. So enjoying lots of physical activity, sounds like.
Used to.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Now he enjoys skiing, photography, and golf when free time allows. So that is Ian. And then next is Max Laughlin. Max grew up in Plattsburgh as well with his parents and 2 younger siblings, graduated from Plattsburgh High School, and then University of Buffalo with a degree in Spanish. And he said along the way he was fortunate enough to live in Spain on 2 separate times and travel in Europe while also becoming very conversational in Spanish. Have you got that up?
Try to.
Yeah. Excellent.
See.
See.
And then after graduation, said he really didn't have an idea of what he wanted to do professionally, so he continued to work full-time at Lowe's, where he'd been working part-time through college. Then he married his wife, Kayla, in 2015, and together they decided that long-term for their family, they didn't want a schedule that came with being a retail manager, so they moved to Montana, where Max had the opportunity to run an organic produce sales business that was owned by his aunt and uncle. He said this was intended to be a 5-year plan, but due to COVID, became a 7-year plan. Then they ultimately decided to move back to Plattsburgh, where most of their family were. They have 2 kids, Maeve, who was actually born in 2020, in the heart of the pandemic, and Max, little Max, who was born here in Plattsburgh in 2025. And Max now works for VP Supply. He's an internal project coordinator for the corporate side of the company, and says he happily spends his spare time with his kids, loves to cook, do home reno projects, golf, and sounds like you really like the NFL. And then he started to ski again with his daughter Maeve, who's old enough to learn to ski, and that you're hoping to get back to lots of travel again. Thank you, Max. And then, not last but not least, John.
Social Security crap.
Yes, the beauty of it, we've got a nice mix of ages. I'm assuming you guys are like 30s. Like,
We are, yes.
okay, yeah,
Sure,
so-
graduated the same year.
30 what?
Yes.
So John
Almost twice.
was born in Plattsburgh in 1958, so currently 67, you said.
67.
You said after your father died in 1969, your grandfather, Peter Blomette, whose name you may know from the Weston Park, really cool, he became the guiding figure in your
Yes.
life. You graduated from PHS just a few decades before Max. And
You
then,
have Mr. Armstrong and that?
No.
He wasn't born yet.
and then you attended SUNY Plattsburgh, and then at 19, you said he met his first wife and her 6-month-old daughter. It's an experience that shaped him as a young parent. They married and moved to New Hampshire in 1980, and then you adopted her daughter, and then welcomed a son in 1982. And then during those years, completed your bachelor's, coached baseball, softball, participated in a men's baseball league, and then after divorce and years of heavy business travel, returned home to rebuild friend and family connections. So then 18 years ago, he married a strong, compassionate woman who he says helped him rediscover himself. Her daughters at the time were 8 and 6, reminded him how central parenthood was to his life. And then today he is proudly an adoptive, biological, and stepfather, grandfather of 6, soon to be 7, and I couldn't believe it, and now great grandfather. I was like, did I read that right?
You did. I've been parenting since I was 19. It just happened.
It happened.
Well, we're
And then, so his 47-year career took him through sales, corporate finance at GE, later his own software consulting firm, returning to Plattsburgh, led him to, how do you say that?
Bombardier.
Bombardier,
Actually,
yes.
Bombardier.
The French. And global manufacturing work, followed by a decade at CBPH Business, bringing business experience into healthcare. Then he earned a master's degree at 55, and then more recently returned to consulting, managed the air train at JFK, and worked in mental health administration. So wow. Now he's retired, spending your time doing the things that you love: guitar, music, cooking, dining out, reading, drawing and painting, building and fixing things, and most of all, being your grandfather. Sorry. So that is some background on these very interesting parents. So I did send them some questions ahead of time, just some general ideas of what we might talk about. I didn't tell you we're going to start with just a rapid fire this or that, okay? So really simple, just to kind of loosen us up a little bit. And you guys have...
You warned me.
So you kind of pass the mic along, or I can share. So just a quick, beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Beach.
Mountains.
I'll do mountains.
Okay. Action or comedy?
Action.
Action. Comedy.
I'll do comedy.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh, coffee.
Coffee.
No hesitation.
City or nature?
Nature.
Oh,
I like both.
city.
Nature. Can I do one in the
Depends.
morning and one in the afternoon?
You're allowed.
If
You're
you
allowed.
live close enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Cat or dog?
Yeah.
Dog.
Cat.
Dog.
Sunrise or sunset?
Rise.
Sunrise.
I'm not usually awake. You ever seen one? I catch the sunset.
Well, I'm not awake for the sunset.
That's right. My dad would do the sunrise.
Sunset.
Planner or spontaneous?
Plan. Yeah.
I spontaneously plan, if that makes sense.
Does?
I'll go planner.
Planner.
That's good. Early bird or night owl?
Night.
Oh,
Night.
Early.
afternoon. That's right.
Window or aisle seat?
Aisle.
Well, look at the height here.
Everybody's up.
Also just not middle.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything but
Unless
that.
you get to sit next to your wife.
Oh,
Oh.
touche. We see you, our wives aren't here, so you get to say.
Cook or order in or eat out?
Cook.
Cook.
Eat out. Eat out, maybe? Eat out? One day, then we'll just go eat.
Uh,
Yeah.
Sweet or savory?
Savory.
Savory.
Okay. Batman or Superman?
Batman. He's a man. I could be him, maybe. Superman, there's no chance. That's because I don't really know.
Yeah, Batman.
Sure, Batman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here for you. That's a good one.
Cilantro, yum or yuck? It tastes like soap.
Say again?
Yeah.
Cilantro.
Oh, yes.
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 Yes. Very interesting.
Overrated, but yes.
Soapy at times, but that's okay. You can flavor it.
Call or text?
Call.
Say again?
Text.
Call or text?
Oh, stop. No, it's called selective hearing. And there's a reason.
Grandparent mistake.
Yeah. I won't go there. Call.
I didn't hear you guys.
Text.
So text too.
Okay. I was wondering if it was gonna change age-wise, but, okay. And then one-on-one or a big group setting in front of people?
One-on-one.
I don't mind big, I like big,
Yeah.
big crowds.
Yeah. Either way is fine.
Yeah, crowds, I guess.
Okay, well, and good thing.
I guess I gotta go.
Yeah, look at me, go.
You asked me to
Working
leave.
for
I
you.
did. That's support for me.
All right, so we will just start digging in then, all right?
Do we need this, or can we just speak
Can
loud?
we
No,
just-
you need that.
Okay.
Oh,
Noted.
All right,
Yeah. And Doc, you could be a little louder.
okay, is it, okay.
Perfect.
I'm trying to, I talk with my hands, so, sorry. So, you were all born here or came as an infant, and grew up here. Some of you stayed, some of you went away and eventually came back. It seems like that family is very important to you all, but how much did that family play into your decision to return, or were there other things that played like a bigger role? And so essentially, what kind of kept you here, or what brought you back? And I can pass this around.
So believe it or not, I am an introvert by nature. I'm an extrovert by necessity. And I spent 20 some odd years in New Hampshire. I had lots of acquaintances and people that I did things with. Most of my work was elsewhere from my community I lived in, so I was disconnected. So when I came back, after life got in the way of life with a divorce, I came back with family and old friends that I still stayed connected with. One in particular, and many of you know this person, Tim Hartnett. And he was somebody that I needed to reconnect with in a big way in my life. So that's what brought me.
When my wife and I lived in Montana, we knew we wanted to come back east. We didn't know where. Plattsburgh was always on the radar, but it definitely wasn't it wasn't necessarily a prime contender, because I think we wanted to live someplace bigger after being in Montana, a bit of a smaller place. And we, even though we both love nature, definitely love cities as well. But when you start weighing the pros and cons, had a young child, we were using so much, frankly, just time, energy, and resources coming back to Plattsburgh for, of course, wonderful and also necessary events. There were just too many things to not want to come back to Plattsburgh, between my wife's parents still being here, my parents still being here, my wife's sister and her husband and daughter, who's our goddaughter, still here. And when you think about, of course, as so many people say, whether they've been here the whole time or left and come back, Plattsburgh's a great place. The North Country is a great place to raise a family, and that was just too much of a selling point to try and do something else. So family for sure, but also just the community. And we didn't have a lot of our old friends that were always that have been here. Luckily, it's been very cool. Ian and I, we've known each other since we were 4 or 5 years old. We've been very close since we were 4 or 5 years old, and having him and his family come back afterwards is very cool. And there just continue to be more people that just seem to be coming back, which this community has, and yeah, makes it great and unique.
You needed the childcare too.
Free childcare goes a long way.
Yeah, we came back for the free childcare. The short or easy answer is that my wife is a resident doctor at UVM. So that brought us back to this general area, and then we decided that I think we'd be better off. We thought we'd be better off here in Plattsburgh with a bit of a commute for her, to have friends and family and an environment that we knew and that we were comfortable in, rather than over in Burlington, because even though it was closer than where we were, it still functionally would probably feel pretty distant. You know, there wouldn't be as many times where we could just get together with friends or family that were in Plattsburgh, given all of life's challenges or requirements. So that's what brought us back specifically here.
I grew up in the area, and I always loved the great outdoors, and my family's here, and there was a time I thought that I was probably going to leave, and then I've been bartending my whole life, and then without even realizing it, over 20 years I've been doing all this networking that I didn't even realize, you know, and it just it is a great community. I mean, look around, and I got to thinking that oh, this guy, and I needed advice, I have lawyer advice, I have doctor's advice, I have you know, all these people. I can go to their local garage and they get me in right away. You know, just that sense of community. Yeah, you know, like the idea of moving and restarting sounds fun too, but I mean, you know, definitely would miss that. And obviously my parents are still luckily both here, so that's why I started.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, and I will say, when I mentioned Glenn Stewart, it seemed, oh yeah, I know Glenn, he's a great guy. So next, do you feel that you've achieved a good balance, work, family, relationships, personal time? If so, how best do you do that? And have you needed to be really intentional about that? And has that changed over time?
No, I'll start with it and we'll figure it out.
Can you repeat the question?
All about balance.
Well, I think, yes, have it's very intentional to try and achieve a good work life, personal, now kids balance, everything like that. Obviously, still being a fairly new parent, but also at the same time kind of a seasoned parent, just going through the early throes of childhood. Still so much to learn, but everything's still changing all the time. And you want to prioritize that child time as much as you can, but now with a 5-year-old, 5-year-olds are all seemingly going on 10 and 12. So they want a little bit of independent time. And then we have a fun gap, a 4-year gap between our 2 kids. And we're kind of finally moving out of, not finally in a bad way, but we're at the point where we're moving out of the infant stage. So the priorities once again changed. It's like, oh, we'd love to both go skiing, and Mate wants to go skiing today, but what do we do with a 10-month-old? And you don't really know, so you're in Plattsburgh and you call grandparents. One thing that I think is the hardest part, I was asking, it was actually, I was at dinner at Dina and Mark's house a few months ago, and Dina asked me a question that I didn't really ever want to think about because I knew it wasn't good. She said, what are you doing for physical fitness? And I said, I have a 5-year-old and a 3-month-old. That is all I'm doing. I'm doing nothing intentional there, and that actually spurred me to getting back into physical fitness a little bit. So thank you for that massive guilt check. Yeah.
No.
But it's, I think it's kind of ever changing when you have kids that are our kids' age, and we're also, working professionals in the area who want to continue to have professional success. So you want to prioritize that, but you can never not prioritize the children. And then of course it's like, oh yeah, I need to be a really good husband too when I can. But that's like somehow the 5th priority, which is never good. So I think it's just very fluid, especially right now.
Go for it, we'll go up the age and then go back to the...
Yeah, then we'll get the right answer. So I guess in kind of listening to Max go on through everything that's in there, I don't know that I necessarily do have an ideal balance, maybe you'd call it, between all of those things. I don't know necessarily, it almost feels like it's one of those things where working towards that and finding that is another activity that you need to find time for in that balance. So often it feels like we're just kind of putting our heads down and trying to move forward and do whatever has to be done, that day or that week, and the balance is kind of what comes out of that. So I think that's probably something, as Max said, with kids too. I don't even have, a coming up on 1-year-old, but we're still trying to probably get into what feels more like a go forward forever as far as balancing their activities and their needs and our work and our needs. So it is fluid and ever changing. Yeah.
Well, my situation's a lot easier. I tend to prioritize it, to be honest with you. So I've always had 2 jobs. Most of the time it was in restaurants, but now I'm in real estate. I can kind of travel with it. Both jobs allow me actually to kind of switch ends of schedule. And with that only having to deal with me, it's actually relatively easy. I feel bad to say that, but I mean, selfishly, I don't even have a dog right now.
Enjoy it.
People are like, why don't you get a dog? Why don't you do this? And it's like, well, I can't just pick my stuff up and go whenever I want. Someone's like, hey, do you want to go down to the city 2 days, or tomorrow, or whatever? And I've been fortunate enough to do that a lot. So on my perspective, it's been, I do a pretty good job of making sure that I have a pretty good balance in my life.
There you go.
And it keeps me pretty level. So.
Oh boy. So, I'm a product of the 60s, right? I'm a baby boomer, and baby boomers provided, they worked, and my parents, my dad, I never saw him very rarely saw him prior to him passing in 1969. He always worked 2 to 3 jobs. So the modeling wasn't necessarily there to provide me with a resource to understand how to navigate that. But I have thought about this quite often, and there are some distinct evolutionary periods within a human as they progress through life. When I was 19, I met a 6-month-old. I became her parent. But yet at the same time, I was driven to be a provider, not just a provider, but the best I could be. So there was a time early on that I would work 10, 12 hours, commuting 2.5 hours from Manchester, New Hampshire to Boston, come home, go to school at night, wake up, do it all over again, coach Little League, coach softball. There was a time where there was a period where I was coaching high school baseball, coaching Little League, coaching other things, so it was an intentional balance. Was it easy? Absolutely not. Was it rewarding? Absolutely. The harder you work to derive an outcome that seems to fit is extremely inward speaking, if that makes sense, if you're picking up what I'm trying to put down. So I didn't have a time to balance for myself until my kids were grown up, and I was divorced and I came back to Plattsburgh. And I found some of that balance of going back and I ski patrolling at Whiteface. I was on the lake, racing sailboats, and I started to understand me a little bit more, so that I could reset for the second phase of my life and career. And when I met Nancy, we had a really good foundation, and I was able to be in Plattsburgh instead of working 60, 70 hours a week, traveling all over the place. So, and now I'm retired. And now my only challenge is to find out what the heck floats my boat, and I'm working on it. It's always been a challenge because I'm a workaholic. I need outcomes, I need results, and now I'm trying to figure out what those results are.
Thank you. So my next question is there some piece of advice that you received early in life that was really impactful in a positive way, something that you continue to live your life by, or something that you now realize was completely wrong and have taken that advice and made a change?
Anybody want to go?
No.
Or I'll go down somebody on the age. May I think about that for a second?
Sure. And if there's nothing, that's okay. We can
No,
move on.
the thing is, I gotta go through the filter and find out how to make it concise. Who's laughing? Who's laughing?
We get it.
I did not grow up with a lot of advice. I did not grow up with a lot of inspirational space to comfort and create that space for me. I believe that I'm neurospicy from the beginning of time, and I must have been on some spectrum of pinging all over the place. I have given myself advice over the years, through readings, through my studies and philosophies, and you okay? And the things I read, the philosophy, Khalil Gibran in the Prophet, and many other books that I could, and so I was able to advise myself. But we always. I'm starting to pontificate, so I'll just reel it back in. So, a lot of introspection, a lot of study upon myself to be able to come up with my answers that resonate with my world, so that I can make an impact with the people that look at me or up to me. I hope they look up to me, not just at me. So yeah, it was not an influential storm coming my way as a child. So I had to try to do it myself.
Well, on a light note, I don't know if I ever was given this as advice or it just became apparent. Never let your partner get cold or hungry. First and foremost. That is absolutely reiterated by my mother. And then on a different note, I don't know where the first time I heard this was definitely instilled in me at a young age from both my parents. And also my grandfather, who was very influential. I always wanted to be the hardest worker in the room, and be the hardest worker in the room, and good things will come. And for a while, I thought that was just, okay, I have to work harder than everyone else, which to a certain extent it is. But I think you talk about work-life balance and kind of introspective and think about things differently. I want to work hard professionally. I want to work hard personally. I want to work hard as a father. I want to work hard as a husband. Because no matter what, anyone can work hard. So therefore, I can work hard. You don't need talent to do it. And that, I think so far at least, most people in my life would say has served me well.
He will work harder than anyone in the room. I'm not sure I can think of, I feel like I might have had kind of the opposite experience than you described, where I was, privileged to have a lot of, whether it be role model or just example of those types of things growing up. And it wasn't often or always necessarily explicitly told, given advice in clear, concise format, more of kind of a show, don't tell. I was kind of, when you asked the question, thinking about, I remember the senior quote I put in the yearbook was, I think it was a Woody Allen quote, 80% of success is showing up. And I do think about that, how, you can't do anything if you don't show up. So a big part of accomplishing anything is first stepping the door and setting yourself to it. So that's something I think about sometimes. And I won't mention your senior quote.
Thank you.
I also had a lot of support growing up. I had a loving family. I don't know if there's any one thing. Just always be yourself and treat others with respect, I think, was a big thing that I stuck by. I know my parents, I was always showing up for my friends and just invited people that seemed to not be fitting in with other people, or showing up for a friend right now. You know what I mean? Like she can't show up for you. But people have shown up for people you care about and stuff like that. I feel like those are things that I've really just tried to live by, I suppose.
Thank you. Next question. Max, what was your senior quote?
Oh, man. You'll have to find a Plattsburgh High School yearbook from 07. Then you can see it.
Or you know.
Just young and dumb.
Yeah. I advised him not to.
I'm sure he did.
Okay. sort of touched on this a bit, but just like how have your priorities changed as you've gotten older?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, having a significant other, you start living for both of you, or you develop probably common goals or purpose out of your individual goals and purpose. So I think that's maybe a small step, but then having a child is the much larger step, I think. I knew growing up that my parents loved me, but I don't know that until you have a child, you probably appreciate the magnitude of that love. So, definitely having a child is a life-changing event, and from then on, probably most of your goals and focus is to that end, however you can accomplish that.
I guess I think a little bit about longevity as you get a little bit older. I burned it hard at both ends, you know what I mean, for a very long time. I've been sober for almost 4 years now, probably. Always liked that atmosphere, I've worked like 70-something hours in restaurants, always had multiple restaurant gigs. Not that I minded it, but after a while, it's like, it's just not a lifestyle that you just can't keep that up, I mean, you can try, but it's just not, not really doable. So you start thinking about, I started actually kind of thinking about real estate and thinking about, do I want to keep running around a bar all the, 5-6 nights a week to, which I can still do for a long time, I think, but, and as my parents got a little bit older, as you see your parents age, sometimes I feel like you see them moving around a little slower, and your patience, I think, for that situation, or maybe that person, you're not driving fast enough in front of you, or taking their time across, you think those people that you care about as they age, I think your sympathy and your patience, I think, gets a little bit better for that kind of thing. And I think my perspective has changed on stuff like that. So.
Oh, God. So I sort of talked about the first stage and middle stage. It's not the last stage, I hope. But I've often said to my stepchildren, my oldest stepdaughter, when we would get into a little discussion, ideological discussion, and she's trying to sway me, and I said, you're trying to convince somebody that has less days ahead of them than they have behind them. And you're going to have to make it really convincing. But as as you get, when I was 62, I did not feel 62. And I was still chasing the corporate money stuff. And I got an offer from the air train down at JFK with Bombardier, now Alstom. And in 2020, I said, sure, I'll give it a try. I'll do this. I can do this. My wife's grandmother lived in Farmingdale, Long Island. So I moved to Long Island, 24 miles from JFK. Right? Nancy said she would be able to come down to see her grandmother more. This might be a great opportunity to have a nice shift near the end of your career. Life got in the way of life, and there was some family stuff, sickness and stuff, and Nancy couldn't come down. So for 8 of the 9 months I was there, before I needed a drool bucket, I was commuting back and forth from Plattsburgh every weekend, down to JFK in New York City. It was fine during COVID. That 24 miles took 24 to 30 minutes in the morning and 35 minutes in the afternoon to my wife's grandmother's house. When COVID released, it was 45 minutes in the morning and 2.5 hours to get to 24 miles away. And the commute back from JFK up went from 4.5 hours to 8 hours. And unsustainable. I don't know if anybody's felt burnout. It's real. And that shifted again to where I wanted to stay home, but I needed to work until I figured it out. And so far, so good. And but that was the 3rd chapter of hopefully many, many chapters left.
Thanks.
Well, you got one more.
What's that?
Oh,
I can
sorry.
skip.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. Please.
First off, the question was essentially how priorities change. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Stretch more. Stretch more. But also something that we've actually been focusing in our house a lot lately is trying to not have Mondays be Tuesdays. So often it's easy for those days to just be the worst days of the week and for therefore to turn into crap days or days that you're just trying to get through. And that's not fun. And that's not what we want to think back on how we were getting through those days, whether it's times when we have young kids or when they're older or when we're professionally stressed or not professionally stressed. I don't want to think back and think through how much time we wasted on mental anguish, on unnecessary mental anguish. Yeah, actually, maybe that's it. So that is a quick answer, right?
Excellent.
You did one of those.
What do you need most when you are stressed or overwhelmed? Like time to yourself, talking out with someone, exercise, binge your favorite comedy show. What do you do to get through this?
Does anyone have an appropriate answer?
I've been a real good single mom. I had a friend who was always there for me, Tim Hardy, and that's where I would go. Haven't found a replacement exactly like that since we've been known each other since 13, so does that make it 40, 50 some odd years? But he passed in 2020. But it's important to find those connections that the day before he passed, and you need to find a connection like this. The day before he passed, he sat and told me my life history, because he knew it. So I encourage everybody to find that element in their life to be able to absorb a lot of the stuff that life can put your way.
Well, showing our age, there is nothing that eliminates all the stuff in my mind better than putting my headphones on, hopping on with 2 of my best friends and playing video games. if I'm being honest. Additionally, and my mom has always said this, and it absolutely works to live by, get outside and sweat. And if you can do those 2 things, preferably together, it's pretty difficult to not start feeling better. And then to your point, I'm very lucky in that I have a great squad. I've got great people around me. I am typically a good communicator, or at least a consistent communicator, and I have people that I can call very regularly at any time of day. Luckily, in a lot of different time zones too, because I'm early bird and a night owl. And just talking to people and connecting and having real conversations. I'm not on social media. Both of us are not on social media, which I think is a little rare for people our age because there's just so much trash out there. I mean, what do you read that's not trash if we're looking at our phones and things like that? And being able to connect with people and again have real conversations, have life stories, go through life experiences together is pretty great.
Yeah, so I guess Max mentioned he's a good communicator, and I'm probably near the other end of the spectrum where I'm happy to talk, but I'm not really a sharer. I don't often put much out there unsolicited. I don't, again, role modeling. My dad and I were happy to sit in silence, not in a bad way, but just kind of introverted. So I'm often usually the latest person awake, certainly in my household, and so I'm a night owl, like we said earlier. But I don't mind sitting in some silence just to kind of think or decompress. Is sometimes what I like when I'm stressed. Or
I definitely generally get out and hike. That's one of my favorite things to do. Fresh air mixed with exercise. It makes me be very present too. It's like one foot in front of the other kind of situation. I don't really think about. I might work through some stuff when I'm out there, but it's generally anywhere from 4 to 12 miles, sometimes a little bit more. So it gives you a good amount of time. Pretty much, maybe you hike with somebody else or a couple other people, but you get back and feel pretty good about what you just accomplished and a little bit fresher. I mean, you're tired, obviously, but just a little bit clearer train of thought after that, usually.
Do you want to share any more just about your decision to give up alcohol?
Sobriety? Yeah, I thought I had a pretty good life, I think. My life was going pretty good. I had a lot of friends, some girlfriends on and off. Good people in my life, family. I was a bartender. Like I said, I've been a bartender my whole life. It was always there. There was always somebody coming in, a friend or somebody you knew. Or I also live right near a bar that I like to go to. So it doesn't help any when you pull in your driveway and there's a bar 50 feet from the front door that you're going to have a good time if nobody there or not. You know what I mean? It's so I was a pretty heavy drinker early on, 16, like the party. I still like it. I just know I can't drink anymore. But anyways, about 4 years ago, I think I knew for a while that I probably should stop drinking. I'd run it by. I'd even tried a couple different times, one 2 weeks, one a month, But as soon as I went right back to it, it was nothing changed. It wasn't I couldn't outthink it. Which as a smarter, or I shouldn't say I'm a smart person, but as a, you think you're intelligent enough you can say no to it. The AA route wasn't really for me. I could say no. So one day, the relationship had fallen apart, and it had before, in that kind of a similar situation. It wasn't the same situation, but alcohol definitely wasn't. You say stupid stuff to stuff you don't necessarily mean, stuff like that. I just made a decision that if bad things were to happen to me, which they can to anybody, regardless of alcohol, but I just told myself that alcohol is not going to be the reason for that anymore. I said I wanted to get into real estate. I said that for 5 years. I quit drinking and I had my license in 2.5 months.
Wow.
It was like it was just like you always, you put it out, it's like, it was a cycle is what it was. It's like with any drug, I guess, but you did good for a couple, then it was a reset, or you did it one, it just got messy, and I was just, the real change happens when you're sick of your own shit, you know what I mean? So,
That's a great T-shirt.
Thank you. Okay, next question. How has your view of your role as a man in a relationship, this could be any relationship, changed from what you observed growing up? Like in your parents, grandparents' relationships, or other adults, mentors, like, for instance, did you go back in the day, thinking protector, provider, and now more partner, or, what kind of shifts, or what did you see, and the same, or did you change how you handle the relationship?
I guess maybe I'll be short. I don't think it changed. My parents were partners, and I hope I am to my wife.
Yeah.
Ditto?
No, I won't say ditto. Mine's, yeah.
Oh, you're short. You're short too, so I think my parents struggled at points, growing up when, everybody goes through their own, stresses in life. I think my dad had lost his job in the mid-90s, and we went through a rough patch as a family, but they always set a good example of loving each other, and I agree.
Yeah.
Oh,
I need a little inspiration.
okay, go for it. I need a therapist.
Anybody? Is that not what
Are you there? Yeah. So, I grew up in a house where we were told children are to be seen, not heard. Get out, go play, which is liberating in a tremendous way. I learned a lot of stuff, making tons of mistakes on Oak Street, Stetson Avenue, playing chicken with the trains crossing the track to see who could go across the track the most times and jump before they get hit. Now, the reason I was good at it is because if I did get hurt, I would probably have, through corporal punishment and other things, probably not survived. And I'm not lying when it comes to that. So, I learned a lot as a child, experiential, through trial and error challenges of growing up in center of Oak Street School in that whole area. Now, I did not parent that at all. I wanted to learn, understand, listen, and leverage my life experience to be able to make a difference. And I hope I did that. So it's night and day. It's night and day from my parenting from my mother. I'm going to share something, and it's a little painful, but this will sum it up. March 21st, 1969, I was 10. My mom came home, grabbed us, and told us that my dad passed away. And she said, "Now go out and play." And I walked around Plattsburgh in that area till 9:30. Came home, and she still had a house full of people consoling her. So, no way. What I got was the reverse role model, if you will. And that experience created the parent I am today.
Tough to follow.
I don't know if
I know. Just end all of them. So I think one thing, no matter what, a constant in our household growing up was my parents, generally speaking, loved the shit out of each other. So I think that from the get-go, that was something that I had that. I got very lucky. My wife and I started dating senior year in high school. The three of us were essentially best friends senior year of high school, and then it changed. We were still best friends, but
I wasn't involved.
It wasn't involved in some of the other stuff. Yeah. And I also, from a very young age, it wasn't necessarily purposeful. I was just very lucky to have it happen to me. Because of the women in my life, I very early on developed an extreme reverence for women. And then my wife had a baby, and then therefore even more of a reverence. So no matter what, it's just kind of, mama gets what mama wants. Sort of thing. That goes for my mom. If that helps out, that goes for my wife. And frankly, it's kept me pretty happily married for a while, and I plan to continue to use that.
Now, we touched on this a little bit, John, kind of what you said, but do you feel that in your relationships with your male friends that you have many deep conversations and connections, or more surface level talk most of the time? Are your interactions more like event focused, or more conversation, communication focused? And are you looking for anything different or not?
So, back to video games. I will often hop on video games and I'll say to my friends, hey guys, let's chat. And just talk about whatever's on our mind. And I swear, it is like pulling teeth sometimes. Once again, not a sharer, oversharer. Our other friend, not a sharer. Deep conversations are, Ian talked about how I essentially got him to come here and I'm the crowd guy and he's not the crowd guy, but he picked crowd, I picked one-on-one. I like crowds, I like parties, I like having a fun time, I like engaging with a lot of people. I love one-on-one. I adore one-on-one. I think that you just get better connections with people. And specifically with my male friends, and I've got some very close friends out in Montana still, and we don't stay in touch anyway other than conversations. And we know that when we call each other, generally speaking, it's like, hey, you got 5 minutes, let's go. Talk about whatever's going on, and then it turns into an hour and a half conversation. And then I'll do the same thing with my host father from Spain, and we'll talk for an hour and it'll be like nothing's changed. And again, that regular communication and that feeling that when I call someone, even if I have to push a bit, that we can have engaging conversations about real stuff I find to be extremely rewarding.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm happy to have a conversation. I always like talking to Max because he is a good communicator. He is good at asking the right questions and meaningful conversation, and I do enjoy that. I don't initiate it very often, but it's important and another privilege in my life to have people that do. So.
I think as you get a little bit older, it's harder to get together with friends sometimes, or people that you've been close with for a long time. So you have to be a little bit more intentional, like reaching out. And I think some of the friendships, you're still friends with a lot. I can still have a lot of friends, but I don't like the people I choose to spend my free time with now because it's not. You're not as available, between work schedules and all that stuff. I think most of those people that I really reach out to, I feel that you can have some pretty meaningful, obviously you can shoot the shit and stuff like that too, but I feel like it's always good to talk about stuff that's really happening in life or in their lives or what's going on. And I think it's easier now more than ever, I feel like, for me to have this conversation, so.
So I alluded to a friend of mine in Hartnett that always had time to talk with people. I have a real hard time with small talk. I will open up and start sharing until somebody probably will walk away, but that's probably the wrong thing to do. I do not enjoy small talk. I will discuss philosophy, any endeavor, business, politics, anything with anybody, as long as I can stay grounded and with boundaries that it doesn't get weird or go way out of control. Like I said, I'm an introvert by nature, extrovert by necessity. Just to get me outside of my spicy, weird head that I have. And I love philosophy. I love to talk to people about their philosophy, because if you're not understanding others, you won't have a mirror to look at to yourself. And this, to me, is amazing to hear the stories of the generation that followed me, because things have changed dramatically in the last several decades. And my children and my grandchildren, they need to keep that continuity of history and the evolution of our culture and our civics. And I hope that I don't bore the living hell out of them as they grow up. No, my oldest is 48. My bio son is 43. I've got a 29-year-old and a 26-year-old. And I have these kinds of discussions with them, and if they don't like it, they'll just walk away, and that's okay. No harm, no foul. But that's just me, and that's where I'm always going to go.
That's awesome. Thanks. Do you feel your job or role in a relationship, and it could be with a spouse, a parent, friend, coworker, is more of a listener or a fixer? And can you generally tell when one or the other is needed?
I start out listening, and then I fix it. And Nancy and Steph are here. What's that? Stop. So I listen, but I have so much going on in my head. It will pop out, and I'm still working on that at 67, and I know it. But I am a fixer, because if I've lived through it, why does somebody else have to live through it? And that's my rationale. And that don't always work. That does not work. Not. At the spouse level, at a child level, the only ones that listen to me are the 2.5-year-olds. They listen to me.
2 years later. 2 years. So.
Having recently moved past the 2-year-old stage, and you're flipping through your phone and the Google Photos says 3 years ago today, it's like, oh my God, I love that one. Where did she go? Oh, we got another one coming up. It'll be good. We'll get 2 years again.
Wait till she's 15.
Oh yeah. I'm a fixer, 100% through and through. very bad cues as to when I'm supposed to listen, to the point that has gotten, with my wife,
I got you.
yeah, she'll start talking about something stressful that has frustrated her, and I'll say, okay, pause, because I want to tell you what you should do. I believe this is a time when that's not going to be helpful. What do you need here? So can you just tell me, and I will do whatever you need.
How does that work?
Very well. It works extremely well. Seriously, it works very well because I don't have 100%. So it's like, okay, let me fix this for you, and that's, to your point, not always what is being looked for. So I can be a good engaged listener. It's not natural for me, and I essentially need to be cued to do so.
I guess maybe a little more than Max. I can sit quietly and listen for longer stretches of time. But ultimately, I am a fixer. As John said, I was a in a consulting role. I mean, I'm here to understand the problem and offer you the solution, and you're paying me for it. So I'm not sure what else you want. Yeah. So I do, but I don't thrust that upon people. Hopefully, too much more than they want. So.
I think I'd have to say listener. I mean, I do that all the time. Like all
Bartender.
The time. I mean, it's literally what I do all the time.
over here.
A lot of times, what I've been good about doing though is I'll talk to like before I start a conversation with somebody, is I'll say, do you want me to listen or do you want me to interject? Because sometimes people just want to be heard. Like they just want to tell you what they got to tell you, and they don't want you to try to fix it. They just need somebody to almost vent basically. But there's some friends that come to me and I'll listen to you, but I was like, do you want some, do you listen or do you want advice? Because I can give you both, I cannot. Just kind of how you're feeling right now. So I'd probably still have to say listener now because that's what I do.
Yeah, but I think that's really, really good advice, and I would suggest for you guys, as your kids come up, have that to be what you say. Let them talk to you. It's like, okay, do you want me to just listen, or do you want
give
to?
them.
That's huge.
Just say that up front because
exactly.
then
It's
you don't
easier
have to
with
worry about.
grandchildren. Let me just
What isn't easier with grandchildren?
Can't fix that.
Mom and dad.
That's mom and dad's
For
thing.
sure.
They fix it. They fix it.
So sometimes I feel like men get a little bit of a bad rap in relationships, that it's said they don't share much of the mental load, planning, organizing, emotional check-ins. But how do you think you do in this regard? Planning trips, planning meals, planning daily, like, do you know what's going on
Sure.
with the...
Yeah, I know what's going on. Sometimes we or men deserve a bad rap, so that's fair. I maybe am in, I suppose everybody probably feels like they're in a specific situation, but my wife is a resident and she's across the lake for a lot of the day. So I am actually home. I do kids in the morning and the afternoon and cook and a lot else that goes on at home. So I'm pretty in tune with the planning, the logistics of that. And then again, I'm in consulting and other things. Anything that has to happen, bigger picture, travel, vacations, anything else, I plan out because that's just kind of what I do. So I have a spreadsheet for everything. If you need a spreadsheet. So yeah, I would say I'm probably maybe better than average, hopefully.
Not being in a relationship right now, it's pretty easy, but I have to say when I was in relationships, I was great at planning stuff. And as far as the check-ins and stuff, maybe I wasn't quite there, but I mean, I definitely have to say, I was good sometimes and bad at other things, so.
No, just keep showing me up. I know.
No. I'm gonna make this short. I do a lot of the planning because that's just me. I do have my spreadsheets. They go, at least the financial one goes out till I'm at 85. I plan, I'm a planner, I'm a project manager, I'm a consultant, and I'm gonna find the answer. And I do cook. Now that I'm retired, now I would say when I was your age, guys, I was traveling 15, 20 weeks a year, working a lot, so probably not as much. But now, yeah, I'm starting to find that home life that I never had.
My wife is definitely the planner, and my wife definitely, I think your question said carry the mental load, I think, was that in there? And she definitely does that. Again, if you tell me something to be done, I will do said thing, but if I have to make sure that I remember to do said thing, sometimes it doesn't happen. I do everything food related in our house, and I do everything clothes related in our house. And so I know, again, right there, I will continue to be gainfully employed as a husband if I continue to do those things. So that's just like the bottom bar. Anything above that is just a bonus for my wife, and frankly, a bonus for me. So if I keep doing that, we're all right.
That'll work.
I like that.
And so now just kind of like your parenting, or your parents, which you've touched on a little bit, but were your parents more figure it out on your own? Or snowplow parents that kind of just cleared the path so that nothing got in your way and everything was okay? And how has that kind of affected your ability to be resilient?
When I read this question earlier this week, I said, I don't know. I honestly wasn't sure, and as I thought about it more, I thought about the fact that I definitely didn't used to think that my parents were snowplow parents. And I don't know that my parents meant to be snowplow parents, but I think just by nature of being engaged, caring parents, that does kind of organically turn you into a snowplow parent to a certain extent. And they led us in the right direction. One thing I will say, and a flag that I'm willing to plant very hard, my parents, very specifically, college was never not an option. There wasn't ever talk of, hey, if you don't want to go to school, we could do this instead. And so it was just like, okay, you go to college when you graduate from high school. And in hindsight, like I was young for our age. I was 17 when I graduated from high school. I was 17 for the first couple months of my freshman year of college. I spent the first year of college in Spain. Like, what? Who decided that was a good idea for a 17-year-old boy? And so I have told my daughter over and over and over again, I would like you to be an HVAC tech, or I'd like you to be an electrician, something that I guarantee you will be able to find work whenever, and you don't have to go to college. If you want to go to college, by all means go. But don't go unless you know what you want to go for, which I had absolutely no clue. So anyway, I think, again, very blessed to have parents that were engaged and caring and just organically cleared the way for us, but I don't think they specifically did. They didn't specifically try and make things easy, and definitely wanted to help us think on our own and do our own thing. Maybe not go away, don't come back until, whenever. But, go do some stuff and don't come back unless you're bloody.
My parents were really supportive, like growing up. I think it was more, they gave me opportunity, like, hey, do you want to do this? Okay, here's an opportunity. Or do you want to play, pick up this instrument? We'll allow you to do it, but like, if you don't want to do it, they weren't like, they weren't overbearing about it, I guess. If they found out like I liked it, they're like, okay, let's do it, Other than some stuff, like I remember asking, as a young kid, hey, can I play hockey? My parents were like, that's way too expensive. They shut some stuff down. But I mean, for the most part, if I showed interest, they'd be, within their own financial means, they would try to support that, or, you know, of my interest. So, but there's also a figure it out on your own, see what you like, and then come back to us and we'll see. We'll kind of give you an answer, yes or no. So.
Yeah, so I guess in thinking about this, and kind of the concept of the snowplow parent, I assume is kind of plowing a specific path in front of you.
Either that, or just making sure there's no obstacles in your way. Like, I'm gonna make it the easiest, you know, just
Yeah.
that sort of thing was what I
Okay.
was kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
I
don't,
guess,
you know, so you don't have any problems,
Right.
we'll solve all your problems for you, kind of thing was.
I think my parents always, and this was again, maybe not, it wasn't necessarily explicit, but we were always aware of and knew that they were going to provide us with the support that we needed to figure these problems out and to maybe choose a direction. So I don't necessarily, I can't remember a single time, at least for me, I don't know about my siblings, where they pushed at or suggested or, you know, hinted or told that there was a certain direction that we were supposed to take, or I was supposed to take. But they let us know that we would, you know, I'd be able to figure it out, that you know, whatever it was. At the same time, I think there were unspoken expectations a lot of time about things. You know, we were going to play an instrument, we were going to be, you know, active and on sports teams and, you know, apply ourselves and all that. And I remember there was a single time in middle school where people were getting together at someone's house at, you know, on a Wednesday night or something. And I was like, do you think I could go over? And he looked so confused. It's a school night. And so that was the only time I ever had. And so it was just one of those things where, and I remember thinking, oh, yeah, okay, no, that's true. So I it's like, yeah, that makes sense. So it was never, I don't think, very forceful. And again, I can't remember a single instance where they said, you should go into this, or you should study that, or, so they definitely let us figure it out. And I'm the oldest child, so I think that shifts a little bit sometimes, or maybe the amount of support or creature comforts that people have when they're the third or the fourth child is different. I'm 6'7", I had a twin bed when I came back from college to visit all through my life, and my youngest sister, she had I think a King XL for middle school and high school. As a California King for middle school and high school. So there were subtle differences. To how we would,
Did you have a foot on your bed?
no, my feet were off my bed. We had to keep the footboard off the bed, yeah. It hurts the Achilles when I have to sleep with it on. So yeah, they didn't really push us into anything specifically, but we always knew we had their support to get there.
Is it me? Is it me or?
No, I think did I go?
Yeah, you went first.
Hard telling that. I alluded to the fact that we played, and that part of the hands-off was probably the best thing that my parents provided me. My oldest children, the 48-year-old adopted daughter and son, they quite often ask, how do you know this? How do you do that? How do you know that? I said, I don't know. A lot of the stuff that I did as a child created experiential learning and cognitive capabilities to problem solve in a nanosecond as you're jumping off a roof. And hoping that you don't break a leg, because then the other one would be broken by somebody else. It's all those problem solving in the moment, awareness, situational awareness, because there was one instruction: don't get hurt. That was it. That was the only mandate. Don't get hurt.
What about the cops?
What's that?
What about the cops?
Yeah, don't get in trouble either.
Don't get caught.
Since my grandfather was was part of the city administration, the cops knew going to Officer Pine. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Officer Pine. Well, Officer Pine would go, "I know where you live," and that I heard that. So. And anyway, that is essential to learning as a child, to build those neural pathways of, shit, that is not good, and I've got to stay away from that. And all the other things of being aware and problem solving and understanding, I would just go, oh, I got to fix the car, I got to go to the library. Got to go make copies of the manuals for the car and fix this and do this and do that. That was just problem solving. So that's critical, and that's my parents provided me with as much rope as was provided to either be free or hang myself. And I never hung myself.
Good job.
Good job.
Thank you very much. I think we're actually it's like 7:25-ish or so probably time to wrap up. But man, you guys have been
Got it, yeah.
for sharing, and yeah, it's been very enlightening, and I really appreciate it. And
Any questions? Does anybody have any questions for the panel?
burning questions?
No.
She's heard enough.
She's heard it all.
apparently.
No questions? Oh, good.
Great. You've answered it all. Any future more comments? Yeah. How was the experience?
It was nice. I was nervous. That introvert was taking over today.
Good experience.
It is an honor to be here with the younger generation that I feel better as a retiree now that I'm sitting on this panel with you guys.
It's nice to copy off your test, so.
That must have been a good group text. Thank you. That really, what a beautiful thing to see these great men up here, really thoughtful and thought-provoking. I think one thing that I thought about in listening to you was sometimes you know from your parents what you don't want to do. And sometimes you know what you do want to do, and we're all in this life of learning together. So thank you so much. So we have, if you haven't, Anita.
Just to comment, I come to these things once a month, we go to lots of different things, and we always hear women talk, because we like to talk, we are a sharing-based life form. And
Ian too.
Well, I know that. So it was really just a pleasure to kind of sit and listen to men talk, because we just don't get that experience often enough, It's really
Anita, that's why we do this,
Yeah.
because that was the seat, I can't remember whose idea it was, but we really wanted the male perspective because they aren't always forthcoming with it. And we've been doing it for years, and we've had really interesting insights from men, and we really appreciate your doing it.
Thank you. So March Men-ness, you really killed it this year. Thank you. Yeah, we do have some announcements. Who wants to talk about next? Do you want to talk about next month?
Yes. I had Best comment on one of our socials, I can't remember if it was Instagram or Facebook, a gentleman said to me, it's Women's History Month. Why are you doing March Madness? I said, that's a really good question. We've always done it as a play on March Madness on college basketball. But as I'd like to say, our next month, April 1st, is on ADK Action. It's a women-owned organization, women-run board that's doing amazing things for our community. So we will have more information. I haven't heard the lowdown on it, but Courtney Meisenheimer, Sally and Rob's daughter-in-law, is very involved in it, and she's going to be presenting on April 1st.
Yeah, so we look forward to that. A couple of announcements. Many of us girls here are involved in something called an Evening of Healing, Stories of Strength. It is a beautiful night about resilience, and we hope that you will put this on your calendars. It's March 23rd at the Newman Center from 6 to 7:30. You won't be disappointed. It's really a wonderful night. Another thing that's happening, and I'm glad to have some young men here. Many of you have heard me talk about this before. It's about faith, and I don't believe that people need to believe a certain thing, but I think children need to be exposed to faith and spirituality, and it needs to be spoken of and discussed and become a normal thing that isn't taboo. So at our church, where some of us girls go, Steph and Dana and I, Rob, Adrienne is our music director. We're starting a family service, and it is the fourth Sunday of every month, starting this month. I've got flyers. If you can offer them to anybody who has children, anybody you can think of. If you have a place you can post it, or you want to take it home and hand it out, I just think it'll be a very meaningful experience to connect, to make community something that a lot of families are looking for as well. Any other announcements, things to happen, Nicolette?
No, I was just gonna say that for one, I noticed that you all have really nice shoes on.
She is a stylist, if you don't.
Well, the other thing, I kind of was just sitting and I just said to my mom, I was like, if I were to ask a question is like, how handy are you? And do you go online to like research, or did you learn from like your dad or grandfather? And like, how curious, and where do you get your knowledge? Or if like something breaks, like, oh God, how do I do that? You know, where do you stand, each of you, on that, I guess?
So last question of the night.
I fix everything.
Nancy's face.
You still get the copies from the library?
No. So I've had enough experience that I understand how things get. I've built huge additions on 2 houses by myself, so that helps there. So handy. It used to be going to the library. I do Google every once in a while. I took my dishwasher apart the other day, and I had to Google a little bit because some of that stuff is hidden and you can't take it all apart. So, yeah, that's certainly well. And some people would say the only reason I do it is because I don't want to pay anybody else. That's cheap.
Some people. Yeah. Is the dishwasher functioning?
Yes.
Okay. Well then. I'm handy-ish. I didn't used to be particularly handy. We just renovated a house and added a couple bathrooms, so that was a good learning experience. If I don't know something, I call my dad. When in doubt, I'll call Beep. My brother-in-law is extremely handy, so I call him. And to your point, like YouTube University goes a long, long way.
Yeah, I like to try to fix things, but I just haven't had a lot of experience with many of the things that will fail like that. So I'll take a look at it. I'll check YouTube. Ultimately, often it comes down to time, and if I don't have time to get into this, then I'm calling Max or Max's brother-in-law or someone else who probably has done it a few times, and so the amount of time that it takes them is far lower than me to try to learn it, make the copies, come back in.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't for my father. My dad is not a handy guy, a smart guy, but just not like a hands-on, fix it. I actually learned more from my mom like that, I think. YouTube for sure. I'm a visual learner. Like, so if I can just stop it, rewind, whatever I have to do, I'm pretty good with that. But I've got a couple of really good handy friends that owe me throughout the course of time. So I mean, like I've been pretty good about like nothing too major. They're usually pretty good about step by step going with or showing me how to do it, so that way I can learn it. So.
You know what, there are a couple more. Sharon, you wanted to make a couple announcements. Sharon Thoreau, who you have heard so far this year, she's got a couple courses coming up.
Yeah, if you went to my, the Vinspire here in December, it was talking about meditation practices. And I'm going to be starting an 8-week class in mindfulness-based stress reduction next week. I've got flyers here for that, so if you want to sign up for that, you can give me your contact information and I answer any questions you may have. And then in January, Sally and I talked about nonviolent communication, and they're letting us do a class at the First Presbyterian Church. So thank you, Sally. Thank you for all that. And that's starting, there's an orientation or a free orientation for that to see what it's all about. It's basically a book club of Marshall Rosenberg's book, Nonviolent Communication, and we'll be doing a chapter every 2 weeks. It takes about an hour to read the chapter, and then we talk about it. And that's the free class for that is this Thursday. The mindfulness-based stress reduction class is a weekly class starting on Tuesday. The nonviolent communication is a class that starts on Thursdays, and they're both in the evening. So I have flyers here. I have an interest sheet if you want more information.
Yeah, great, thank you. So stop in and see Sharon, and we hope to see you on April 1st. It's April Fool's Day. Too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.